Recording in progress.
I'll call the May 3rd, 2023 meeting of the Architecture Review Committee to order. Good afternoon. And Erica, will you do a roll call for us, please?
Sure. Chair Hunter,
Present.
Vice Chair Tregenza,
Here.
Committee Member Carter, Committee Member Ostavar,
Here.
Committee Member Polly. I'll go ahead and mark Committee Member Polly absent and Committee Member Schmidt.
Here.
And I can announce the
Okay,
staff
thank
members present. We have Principal Planner Roveri, Senior Associate Planner Schmidt, and myself, Recording Secretary Barrera.
Okay. First order of business, we'll call or open up the consent items on the agenda, which include the minutes from the previous meeting. Any comments from the committee on consent items? Erica, will you announce how members of the public can join us remotely? And
Sure.
if they see if we have any comments on the consent items.
Sure. Members of the public are encouraged to join our meetings via Zoom Gov, a secure service that connects you live with no lag time. This meeting is also streamed live on youtube.com/City of Monterey. It is also streamed on Comcast Channel 25. If you would like to provide public comment, please join the meeting using Zoom or by telephone, making sure to join in time to accommodate delays. To join the Zoom meeting from a computer or phone, use the link or phone numbers on the agenda posted at isearchmonterey.org. To join by telephone, dial 833-568-8864, then enter the webinar ID. Today's webinar ID is 161-914-9563. To provide public comment via Zoom, please use the raise your hand function at the bottom of your screen. To provide comments by phone, dial *9 to raise your hand, then *6 to unmute when called upon. Public commenters will be announced using their last 3 phone number digits or the name they've typed into Zoom. Public commenters will be muted until it's their turn to speak. Please turn off TV or computer speakers or go to another room while connected, as background noise interferes with the broadcast. Public speakers will be called upon in order of hands raised. There is a 3-minute time limit for today's meeting. Please stay within that limit. Thank you.
Do we have any one online for public comments on the consent items?
There are no attendees online.
Any members of the public in the chamber care to comment on consent items? Okay, if not, I'll entertain a motion on the consent items for the agenda, consent items agenda.
I move to approve the consent items.
Second.
Okay, a motion has been put forth by Vice Chair Tregenza and seconded by Committee Member Carter. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Say
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, the consent agenda items have been approved. Moving on to the public appearance items. Is to consider 225 Hawthorne Street Architectural Review Permit ARP-23-0021 for preliminary and final architectural review of a second-story addition, second-story deck, and exterior alterations to an existing 2-story single-family dwelling. Does staff have a presentation?
Yes, thank you, Chair. My name is Chris Schmidt. I'm a Senior Associate Planner for the city. And I've been working with the project applicant and architect on this project. So we are looking at 225 Hawthorne Street. The project includes second-story additions, second-story deck, and then an expansion of a patio at the rear, as well as other alterations that I'll show in this presentation. So again, the staff recommendation is to approve the project. And here we see the site. It is an R35 lot, which means it's in our multifamily zoning district. It doesn't contain a multifamily building. This is a single family dwelling. And it's a fairly small lot. It's a 4,800 square foot lot, which is considered to be substandard in the city. It's in New Monterey on Hawthorne Street, fairly close to Lighthouse District in the downtown area of New Monterey. So this survey shows the existing condition with Hawthorne Street on the right-hand side. And you can see that there's a pretty good amount of topography as you go up the hill up to their rear yard. You can see a lot in the backyard. A lot of these railroad ties, they're used to kind of retain the various tiers of their backyard. But kind of the front of the lot is fairly steep at the front, very front, and then it levels out a bit, kind of adjacent to the existing building. So here's the proposed site plan. So I've highlighted here the kind of two areas of interest that typically the ARC application, the architectural review applications are require ARC approval of, and so that is the second story addition, which you can see in this smaller of the two rectangles. That's on the, if you're facing the home on the right hand side, and then there's a second story deck, and you can. I'll show site plans, but you will see that there's an existing deck that's almost flush with the existing two-story building, and they would be extending it towards the property line on the south hand side. As part of the project, and it's not subject to the ARC's discretion for review, the applicant is also proposing an ADU. While we don't really comment on ADUs, single story ADUs, it was included in the analysis because I think it actually improves the look and character of the dwelling and with respect to the proposed improvements here. So I will show that as well. So here we have the first floor plan, the existing on the left and proposed on the right. And you can see that new ADU on the right-hand side. And then what I wanted to note is the expansion of the existing patio here, which I've highlighted in purple, that's existing, and then the expansion would be in orange there. So they'd be creating a much larger patio at the ground floor level that could be used by residents of, I'm assuming both residents of the ADU and the house itself. And then here we see the second floor existing on the left and proposed on the right. And again, highlighting those expansion areas there. So they're kind of giving away some of that existing second story deck to make for that new ADU, and then making up for it by expanding the deck, as you can see on the image on the right. The floor area expansion, you can see it's fairly minimal. It's only about 75 square feet, I believe. And it would just make way so they could really redo the floor plan here and utilize a little bit more space. So I went out and took photos when it was a beautiful day outside. And so you could see the existing condition of the home. So on the following slides, I'll show the elevations, and the applicant is proposing actually replacing nearly all of the exterior materials, with the exception of some siding at the kind of lowest portion of the building, and then there are some replacement windows as well. So here's that front elevation. So you can see new horizontal siding is proposed. And then you can see that new addition on the right-hand side, this dormer addition that does cantilever out by, I think it's 3 feet. And the siding would be slightly different from the existing dwelling siding. And then you can also see that deck on the left-hand side. This is the rear elevation. And like I said, I mentioned that the ADU, you can see the ADU on the left-hand side. While we don't consider review ADU as we can't consider them for discretionary review. It's part of the project, and I think it should be considered when looking at all the other components of the project. Here's the north elevation. So if you're facing the front, it would be the right-hand side, and you can see that dormer addition kind of at the center. There are obviously new windows on this elevation here. And then the south side elevation, where you can see that new deck as well as ADU. So I have a couple of photos of the colors and materials here, and it's kind of hard to tell because it was a scan, but generally the siding would be a gray color, the wood trim at the window and door openings would be a teal color, as well as the gutters. And then the roofing would be this colonial red color, and the roofing would be changed from a shingle to this standing seam metal roofing style that you see here. It's not that, obviously not that color, it's the red color that you see below there. So if you wanted to compare the roof materials on this elevation. So project impacts. So again, I've outlined the improvements that the ARC can consider for impacts to the surrounding neighborhood. The ADU itself we can't consider, but probably the more impactful additions would be the floor area addition on the north side and the deck on the south side. And it's worth noting, and I believe a letter was submitted to the submitted comments page and forwarded to the ARC, that the neighbors on the, I believe it's the south side, didn't have any issue with this deck expansion. And then I didn't receive any comment from the neighbor on the north side. So just quickly look at the photos of the story pole. So the second story deck is closer to the property line. And then the addition on the right hand side, like I said, it's a fairly small addition, 3 feet towards the neighboring property line, but the side yard here is fairly narrow as well. So in order to approve the permit, the ARC has to make 4 findings. The first being the proposed siding form, mass, and architectural style are appropriate. Staff was able to make this finding. It complies with the required setbacks. The second story cantilevered addition is fairly minimal in terms of massing and isn't any higher than the existing roof ridge of the dwelling. The addition is softened by the ADU in the foreground, and I didn't mention that on one of my elevation slides, but I just want to highlight it here. Here's the addition and the ADU in the background. So some of that massing and typically we cantilevers can be a little bit of out of place here. I think because of the ADU in the foreground, it didn't seem to be as big as an impact as viewed from the street. So that's why staff made that finding. And then the third piece of this was that the style is appropriate and consistent with the styles found in Monterey and the new Monterey neighborhood. The second finding has to do with use, privacy, and living environment and reasonable impairments. Staff found no unreasonable impairments to viewer privacy impact or to viewer privacy changes. The addition is very similar to where there was existing floor area and only, as I mentioned, gets 3 feet closer. And then the deck itself is also very close to a previous location, and the neighbors there had no problem with the project. The third finding is that the project is consistent with city plans and design guidelines. It is consistent. This general plan land use designation is medium density residential, which does allow development of single family dwellings. The improvements are residential in character and compatible with the policies of the new Monterey area plan. And then lastly, the exterior finish, colors, materials, and all other exterior features are appropriate. These are materials and colors that are generally found in Monterey. There aren't a ton of colonial red roofs, but actually the existing roof today, if you'd like, I can go back to the photos, is a very similar color. And it's actually quite difficult to see. So staff didn't have any issues with it. So staff was able to make all 4 findings. So again, the recommendation is to approve. I'm available for questions, and the applicant and property owners are here today. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Chris. Any questions from the committee for Chris?
Chris, are there other roofs with that metal of that type in the area?
I have seen, I can think of one. I think there are others throughout the city. I can't remember how many are in New Monterey though.
Okay, thank you.
I know Del Monte Beach has It's a popular roofing type in Del Monte Beach.
Mhm.
Is that to protect it from the salt air?
What was your question?
To protect the building from the salt, the damage of the salt air?
Oh, sure. I'm not sure about that, but I know that they last, the company claims they last for 50 years and they're fire resistant and stuff like that.
Any other questions for Chris? If not, open this up and invite the applicant if they want to make a presentation or statement.
Yes. I'm Terry Latassa, the project architect, and Mandy and Melissa, the owners, are here too. So it's a pretty straightforward project. The building is in pretty bad shape, so we're happy to fix it up. The roofing and the siding is really shot, especially on the south side, and the siding is extremely deteriorated and brittle, so we have to do something there. And so it's just an upgrade and refurbishing of an existing house. There aren't really any privacy or view impacts, as Chris noted. We try to take that into consideration because they needed a little bit more room upstairs. It's kind of a funny layout in the house, and this small addition on the upper level just made the floor plan work. And we were able to do that with really impacting anybody's views or privacy. And also, as Chris mentioned, we reviewed the plans with the neighbors too, and they didn't have any objections. Let's see, we did, because of the age of the house, there was a historic report by Kent Seavey, and he supported these changes in materials that we're proposing. So that's it. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant?
Sorry, can you just repeat that last bit on the material? You said someone.
Oh, well, Kent Seavey, the architectural historian,
Yep.
did a report, historic report, and he supported the change on the roof and wall materials.
And there's no historic, it's not a historic
It
registered house.
could have been, but there have been so many changes to it over the years that it really didn't, there wasn't enough left for them to really try to go too crazy with Secretary of Interior standards.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's one of the cutest homes in the area. I know it. I toured it when it was for sale, but has a lot of character. So it's interesting to know if that's the case or not. If there was anything historic.
Yeah, it was a notorious like hippie crash pad for decades, and the building department files are full of all these. Oh, it was condemned for a while, and they were trying to get rid of people there. So it was, and the previous owner had lived on a boat in the harbor, and that's why he painted the weird sort of garish colors in the front of the house. It was basically boat paint that he used on the house. So,
You mentioned there was damage also. That was termites, I guess. You said I remember it being tended.
it's mainly the I'm not aware of termite damage. It's mainly the south side just gets so sunblasted.
Okay.
It really is the siding especially is deteriorated.
Other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Eric, will you remind the public if they'd like to comment, how they can do so online?
Would the property owners like to say something first? Or you don't have to? Okay.
Once again, to join the Zoom meeting from a computer or phone, use the link or phone numbers on the agenda posted at isearchmonterey.org. To join by telephone, dial 833-568-8864, then enter the webinar ID. Today's webinar ID is 161-914-9563. To provide public comment via Zoom, please use the raise your hand function at the bottom of your screen. To provide comments by phone, dial *9 to raise your hand, then *6 to unmute when called upon. Public commenters will be announced using their last 3 phone number digits or the name they've typed into Zoom. Public speakers will be called upon in order of hands raised. There's a 3-minute time limit for today's meeting. Please stay within that limit. I currently see no attendees online.
All right, thank you, Erica. And again, any public comment on the chamber? All right, thank you very much. I'll close public comment on this item and open up for discussion for the committee members.
Got a quick question for Fernanda. Given that I was tardy, apologies. Do I need to recuse myself?
Well, yes, technically you have to be here for the entire item in order to vote.
Okay,
Oh,
so
okay.
guess I should leave. This is the only item on the agenda.
I could
Great, yeah.
I could also show the first few slides.
Yeah,
If-
even though we haven't. started,
It was into.
I was on like the third slide
Slide,
It was like.
I mean, if you want
4:11
to.
When you came in.
Go back.
really quickly.
I think that's easy enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, hello, my name is, I'm just kidding.
Please. Blast through the slide.
So, yeah, so I mean, it's an R3 lot, which is our multifamily zone. It's about 4,800 square feet, fairly small, substandard. Where did you come in?
Very close to this.
Okay, here's the survey. It's kind of steep at the front and flattens out on the sides and then tears uphill.
Where the additions are going.
These are the additions, yes.
Like you looked at plans before.
I guess.
The orange here, Justin, signifies the expanded exterior patio at the
Mhm.
grade. So they would be doing a bit of digging into the side of where they've already had some retained soil here and
Upper level additions. Yeah, this is where I came in.
Okay.
Great. We good, Fernanda?
okay.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Walk all the way
uh,
over here.
Comments from the committee?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, motion has been made by committee member Carter to approve the architectural review permit ARP -23-0021 for 225 Hawthorne Street and seconded by Vice Chair Tregenza. Any discussion on the motion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? All right, the motion is carried. Congratulations and good luck with your project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All
Sorry,
right, that closes the public appearance items. Any comments from committee members or information, staff reports? Or just-
I'm pretty sure that I think we skipped the public comments for items not on the agenda.
Oh, I did.
But were there any people online at that time?
No one has been online.
Okay.
Call them.
Start over, Chris. Introduce
Yeah.
yourself again.
Yeah.
Thought you asked quickly. Thought you did, but maybe I.
No, I asked for the consent agenda items. I didn't ask for public comments on ones or for anything not on the agenda after that. And then, but there was no one there. So my bad.
No attendees. And then do we need to announce after the projects are approved that they are appealable?
Uh-huh. We still have to do that.
The project is appealable to the planning commission within 10 days. We have applications online or in our planning office.
Good. Thank you. Any staff reports or further agenda items?
Let's see. Nothing to add to the planning office update. There might be an additional item for the May 17th ARC meeting. I think it might be 1200 Monroe Avenue might also get added to that agenda. It's a hotel.
Was that the one that got red tagged?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Your favorite hotel.
Beauty. What else is projected to be on the agenda?
900 Monroe Avenue. also a hotel.
Another red tag hotel.
Oh, great.
Oh, cool.
Anything else?
I handed out medals at the marathon this weekend. It was awesome. It was great, and I'm so glad we do it. So
Cool.
That's awesome.
So it's the 17th, is that right?
Yeah.
I believe I will be absent.
Any safe grounds?
And so a quorum is 4. Okay, so we lose 1. Oh, no, we can lose up to 2.
we're still waiting for a 7th member, aren't we?
We are.
Do you know what the process is on that?
It's the, okay.
Where's the 7th?
Right here.
Is it?
It's not here.
Okay.
Is there another monitor
I think they would just share
that?
probably,
sure.
Okay.
because I have 2 mics now. We've double mic'd.
All right. No other, say, go ahead. No, please.
Say goodbye, everybody.
All right. Adjourn the May 3rd meeting of the ARC. Thank you.